A single steam locomotive built in 1941 weighed 1.2 million pounds, stretched longer than a Boeing 737, and hauled trains up mountain grades so steep that even today's most powerful diesel locomotives need to work in pairs or even trios to match what it did alone. These weren't just machines, they were engineering monsters that burned through 25 tons of coal and 25,000 gallons of water on a single run. Here are 10 steam giants that modern diesel still cannot beat. Number 10. The Union Pacific Challenger. Let's start our list with a locomotive that redefined what an articulated steam engine could do. The Union Pacific Challenger was designed in the mid-1930s because the railroad had a serious problem. Their existing 412-2 locomotives could produce roughly 96,000 pounds of tractive effort, but their rigid wheelbase made them terrible on curves. Union Pacific needed something just as powerful that could also handle twisting mountain routes at speed. Enter the 4664 Challenger. Engineered by Arthur H. Fetter and built by the American Locomotive Company known as ALCO, starting in 1936. A total of 105 Challengers were built across 5 classes for Union Pacific alone, plus 6 more for the Denver and Rio Grande Western. The numbers on these machines were staggering. The later heavy Challengers weighed roughly 537 short tons, that is over 1,070,000 pounds, including the tender. They were nearly 122 feet long. The boiler operated at 280 pounds per square inch, pressure usually reserved for high-speed passenger engines. With 69-inch driving wheels, these locomotives could sustain speeds that earlier articulated designs could only dream of. The Challenger's real trick was versatility. It handled both freight and passenger service across the entire Union Pacific system. Some Challengers even pulled the famous Portland Rose passenger train. Their design and operating experience directly shaped the creation of the big boy, which we will get to later. 2 Challengers survive today, including the famous number 3985. Modern single-unit diesel locomotives typically produce around 4,400 horsepower. The Challenger could match or exceed that while hauling massive tonnage over steep mountain passes. In combined service across mountain grades, you would need 2 or 3 diesel units to replicate what one Challenger did routinely. Number 9. The Norfolk and Western Class A. The Norfolk and Western Railway was legendary in the steam era because it resisted dieselization longer than almost any other major American railroad. The reason was simple. Their steam locomotives were so incredibly well engineered that diesel offered no real advantage. The crown jewel of their passenger and fast freight fleet was the Class A, a 2664 simple articulated locomotive. Built at the railroad's own Roanoke shops in Virginia between 1936 and 1950, a total of 43 were constructed. The men who operated these engines consistently called them the finest steam locomotives ever built. Each Class A produced 125,897 pounds of tractive effort and could pull passenger trains at 70 miles per hour. They weighed approximately 573,000 pounds for the engine alone. What made them special was not just raw power, but the quality of their engineering. Norfolk and Western built these locomotives to extraordinarily precise standards. They ran smoothly, required less maintenance than competing designs, and delivered consistent high performance mile after mile. The Class A earned the nickname Mercedes of Steam. Because of this combination of power, speed, and refinement, they were fast enough for passenger duty and strong enough for heavy freight, making them among the most versatile locomotives ever created. One Class A number 1218 was restored to operating condition in the 1980s and ran excursion trains, proving that even decades after retirement, these machines could still perform. Number 8. The Southern Pacific Cab Forward AC-12. Most steam locomotives have the cab at the back, behind the boiler. The Southern Pacific Railroad threw that convention out the window and built something truly unique, the cab forward. Southern Pacific operated through the Sierra Nevada mountains, where trains passed through miles of tunnels and snow sheds. With a conventional locomotive, exhaust smoke and gases from the stack would fill these enclosed spaces, and the crew in the rear cab would be choking on toxic fumes. The solution was brilliant. Reverse the entire locomotive so the cab sits at the front, ahead of the boiler, with the tender coupled at the smokestack end. This was possible because Southern Pacific burned oil instead of coal, so fuel could be piped forward from the tender through lines running alongside the boiler. The AC-12 was the final and most powerful class of cab forward. Built by Baldwin Locomotive Works between 1943 and 1944, 20 were constructed, numbered 4275 through 4294. Each weighed approximately 657,900 pounds for the engine alone, with the total weight including tender reaching nearly 978,000 pounds. They produced 124,300 pounds of tractive effort and approximately 6,000 horsepower. That horsepower figure is particularly significant because modern frontline GE and EMD diesel locomotives produce around 4,400 horsepower. A single AC-12 outpowered a modern diesel unit by a substantial margin. The last cab forward built, number 4294, is the only survivor and is now on display at the California State Railroad Museum in Sacramento, facing an EMD F7 diesel, its nemesis. Number 7. The Duluth, Mississippi and Iron Range Yellowstone. If you want to talk about raw pulling force, the conversation must include the Duluth, Mississippi and Iron Range Railway's Yellowstones. These locomotives were purpose-built for one of the most punishing jobs in American railroading, hauling iron ore. Iron ore is extraordinarily heavy. The DM&IR operated long trains of loaded ore cars over steep grades between the iron mines of Minnesota's Mesabi Range and the Great Lakes ore docks at Duluth. This required absolutely maximum pulling power. Baldwin Locomotive Works delivered the first 8 Yellowstones, classified M3, in 1941. They performed beyond expectations, so the railroad ordered 10 more, classified M4, delivered in 1943. The design was based on Western Pacific's 2882 locomotives, but with a 4-wheel trailing truck added to support a larger firebox and an enclosed all-weather cab, essential for Minnesota's brutal winters. The numbers on these machines are jaw-dropping. Each locomotive weighed 695,040 pounds for the engine alone. With the tender loaded, the total weight exceeded 1,133,000 pounds. They carried 26 tons of coal and 25,000 gallons of water. But the truly staggering figure is the tractive effort, 140,093 pounds. That was the highest tractive effort of any Yellowstone type ever built. By this measure, the DM&IR Yellowstones were more powerful than the famous Big Boys. They produced approximately 6,250 horsepower at around 40 miles per hour. 3 survive today, NOS 225, 227, and 229, all preserved in Minnesota. The last was retired in 1963, outlasting many supposedly superior diesel replacements. Number 6. The Norfolk and Western Y6B. If the Class A was the Mercedes of steam, the Y6B was the unstoppable workhorse. The Norfolk and Western Y6B was a compound mallet locomotive, meaning it used steam twice, first in the high-pressure rear cylinders, then in the larger low-pressure front cylinders. This gave it tremendous pulling power with remarkable fuel economy. A total of 81 Y6 series locomotives were built at N&W's Roanoke shops between 1936 and 1952. The Y6B was the final and most refined version. It produced 5,600 horsepower and could generate up to 170,000 pounds of tractive effort in simple mode, where all cylinders received high-pressure steam for maximum starting force. In compound mode for sustained running, it still delivered around 126,838 pounds. The Y6B weighed approximately 582,900 pounds. What made it truly exceptional was efficiency. It produced more tractive effort per pound of locomotive weight than any other steam engine ever built, including the Big Boy and the Allegheny. It was not the biggest or the heaviest, but pound for pound, it was the most efficient puller in steam history. Norfolk and Western kept their Y6Bs in active service until 1960, long after most railroads had fully dieselized. 50 Y6 series locomotives were still running in 1959. The railroad only retired them when they simply could not delay their diesel orders any longer. Tragically, every single Y6B was scrapped. One Y6A, Note 2156, survives as the sole representative of this legendary class. Number 5. The Pennsylvania Railroad T1 duplex. The Pennsylvania Railroad's T1 was one of the most controversial and visually stunning locomotives ever created. Designed by Ralph P. Johnson with streamlined styling by the legendary industrial designer Raymond Loewy, the T1 looked like something from a science fiction film. The T1 was a duplex locomotive with a 4-4-4-4 wheel arrangement, two sets of 4 driving wheels, each powered by its own pair of cylinders, all mounted on a single rigid frame. 52 were built between 1942 and 1946 by both Altoona Works and Baldwin Locomotive Works. The T1 weighed approximately 502,200 pounds for the engine alone and over 944,000 pounds with the loaded tender. It ran on 80-inch driving wheels, the largest of any duplex type. During testing, one T1 reached 100.97 miles per hour on level track while pulling a 1,350-ton passenger train. That is a speed that most modern diesel passenger operations in the United States still do not routinely match. The T1 was designed to compete with the electric GG1 locomotive on the Pennsylvania Railroad's non-electrified routes. It was built for speed and delivered enormous power at high velocity. The problem was wheel slip. The duplex design distributed weight over more axles, which reduced adhesion and made the drivers prone to spinning. Despite this, when the T1 hooked up and ran, it was breathtakingly fast. All 52 was scrapped by 1956. Today, the Pennsylvania Railroad T1 Steam Locomotive Trust is building a brand new T1 number 5550 from scratch, a testament to the enduring legend of this machine. Number 4. The Pennsylvania Railroad Q2 Duplex. If the T1 was the Pennsylvania Railroad's speed demon, the Q2 was its freight powerhouse. And by one critical measurement, the Q2 was the single most powerful steam locomotive ever tested. 26 Q2s were built at the PRR's Altoona Works between 1944 and 1945. They used a 4-4-6-4 duplex wheel arrangement, a rigid frame with 2 separate sets of driving wheels, each powered by its own cylinder pair. The Q2 was the largest non-articulated locomotive ever constructed. On the Pennsylvania Railroad's static test plant at Altoona, a Q2 produced 7,987 cylinder horsepower at 56.7 miles per hour. No other steam locomotive has ever produced a higher dynamometer verified horsepower figure. Some historians believe the reading actually touched 8,000 horsepower, which would make it the most powerful reciprocating steam engine ever measured. The Q2 weighed 619,100 pounds for the engine alone and 1,049,100 pounds with tender, over 500,000 kilograms total. It measured 124 feet 7 inches from coupler to coupler. The PRR claimed a single Q2 could haul 125 freight cars at 50 miles per hour. Its tractive effort was 100,816 pounds, rising to 115,816 pounds with the booster engine engaged. The Q2 was 78% more powerful than any locomotive the Pennsylvania Railroad previously had in service. Despite this extraordinary capability, all were retired by 1951 and scrapped. Dieselization was not about power, it was about maintenance costs and operational flexibility. But in terms of raw output, the Q2 remains unmatched. Number 3. The Chesapeake Ohio Allegheny H8. The Allegheny might be the most powerful steam locomotive that ever turned a wheel in regular revenue service. Built by Lima Locomotive Works between 1941 and 1948, 60 were constructed for the Chesapeake and Ohio Railway, with 8 similar Blue Ridge locomotives built for the Virginian Railway. The Allegheny was designed for one primary job: hauling loaded coal trains over the Allegheny Mountains of West Virginia and Virginia. The grades on this route, particularly the eastward climb from White Sulphur Springs to Allegheny Station, demanded enormous sustained power. Each H8 weighed approximately 778,000 pounds for the engine alone and 1,200,000 pounds with the loaded tender, the same weight as a big boy. The tender alone carried 25,000 gallons of water and 25 tons of coal. The locomotive measured 125 feet 7 inches overall, but it is the power figures that set the Allegheny apart. During dynamometer car testing, an Allegheny produced momentary readings of 7,498 drawbar horsepower, with sustained readings between 6,700 and 6,900 horsepower at around 45 miles per hour. No other steam locomotive has ever produced a higher verified drawbar horsepower reading. The distinction matters. Drawbar horsepower measures the actual power available to move the train after all internal friction losses. The tractive effort was 110,211 pounds, with one Allegheny at the front and another pushing from the rear. The C&O ran 11,500-ton coal trains at speeds up to 45 miles per hour. They could even reach 60 miles per hour on passenger trains. The Alleghenies also held the heaviest axle load of any steam locomotive at 86,700 pounds per axle. 2 survive today. No, 16. One at the Henry Ford Museum, reportedly so well preserved, it still occasionally leaks oil, and no 1604 at the Baltimore and Ohio Railroad Museum. Number 2. The Union Pacific Big Boy. No list of massive steam locomotives would be complete without the Big Boy. It is the most famous steam locomotive type in history, and for good reason. It is generally considered the largest steam locomotive ever built. 25 Big Boys were constructed by the American Locomotive Company between 1941 and 1944, exclusively for the Union Pacific Railroad. They were designed to haul heavy freight over the Wasatch Mountains between Ogden, Utah and Cheyenne, Wyoming, where trains faced a continuous grade of 1.55%. The statistics are almost hard to believe. Each Big Boy was 132 to 133 feet long, longer than a Boeing 737, and weighed 1,200,000 pounds, or 600 short tons, with the loaded tender. They stood 16 feet 1 inch tall and 11 feet wide. The boiler operated at 300 pounds per square inch. The firebox grate area measured over 150 square feet. You could fit a small apartment inside it. The Big Boy produced approximately 7,000 indicated horsepower during testing, with 135,375 pounds of tractive effort. A single Big Boy could haul a 3,600-ton freight train up the Wasatch Grade without assistance. The 4 cylinders measured 23.75 by 32 inches each. Because the locomotive was so long, the frame was articulated, hinged in the middle, allowing it to negotiate curves despite its enormous length. 7 of the original 25 survive today. But here is what makes the Big Boy truly legendary. No, 4014 is not just surviving, it is operating. After a multi-year restoration by Union Pacific, Big Boy 4014 returned to active service and is currently the largest operating steam locomotive in the world. It weighs 1.2 million pounds, has traveled over 1 million miles in its lifetime, and continues to tour the Union Pacific system, drawing enormous crowds wherever it appears. Big Boy 4014 was retired in December 1961 after traveling 1,031,205 miles. It was restored and returned to steam, and as of 2026, it continues to operate on excursion tours across America. No modern diesel locomotive even comes close to matching the visual spectacle and raw physical presence of a Big Boy under full steam. Number 1. The Norfolk and Western Class J. At the top of our list is the locomotive that proved beyond any doubt that steam could beat diesel and was killed anyway. The Norfolk and Western Class J was a 484 streamlined passenger locomotive, and many who operated it called it the single greatest steam locomotive ever designed. 14 Class Js were built at Norfolk and Western's Roanoke shops between 1941 and 1950. Every single one was constructed in-house by the railroad's own craftsmen, not by a commercial builder. That fact alone tells you how seriously N&W took their steam program. The Class J produced approximately 5,100 horsepower and 80,000 pounds of tractive effort. It rode on 70-inch driving wheels and could sustain speeds above 100 miles per hour. These locomotives hauled premier passenger trains like the Powhatan Arrow and the Cavalier across the Appalachian Mountains at speeds that diesel replacements struggled to match on the same routes. But here is what earns the Class J the #1 spot. In the early 1950s, Norfolk and Western ran direct head-to-head efficiency tests between their Class J's and modern diesel locomotives. The Class J matched or beat the diesels in fuel cost per mile, availability, and overall performance. Steam won the test. The railroad dieselized anyway, not because diesel was better, but because the entire supply chain for steam was collapsing. Parts manufacturers were closing, coal facilities were being torn down, and the industry had already made its decision. 12 of the 14 were scrapped. But no, 611 survived and was restored to operating condition twice. It remains one of the most celebrated steam locomotives in America, a living reminder of a machine that beat its replacement and lost anyway. That is why the Class J is our number one. If you found this video fascinating, hit that subscribe button and the notification bell so you never miss another deep dive into the greatest machines ever built. Drop a comment below and tell us which of these 10 steam monsters is your favorite, and we will see you in the next one.